My fiancée cheated with her ex after I paid off her $42,000 debts. I took the house, blocked her entire family, and never looked back. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and I used to believe love meant fixing what someone else broke. Not just emotionally, but financially, mentally, spiritually even. I thought being the safe place for someone who's been hurt would make them love you harder, stay longer, treat you better. That's how I saw Natalie. I met her at a local charity fundraiser I helped organize through my company. She was volunteering, holding a clipboard, and somehow looked both completely exhausted and breathtaking. She had this quiet determination in her eyes, the kind you only earn by surviving hell. I found out later she was working 2 jobs and trying to pull herself out of $42,000 in debt. We started seeing each other after that night, slowly, cautiously. She was hesitant about everything: dates, sleepovers, letting me pay for dinner. She always said she didn't want to be a burden. That line, it hooked me deeper. Within a year, we were living together in my townhouse. She moved in with just 2 duffel bags and a worn-out couch pillow she said reminded her of home. I never asked what home meant to her. One night, she finally broke down and told me about the debt, medical bills from when she was uninsured and sick, credit cards maxed out by her ex, who drained her emotionally and financially before ghosting her. She told me she felt like damaged goods. I didn't even blink. I told her she wasn't broken, just bruised, and bruises heal. A week later, I paid off her highest interest credit card. Then another. Then the hospital bills. Before I knew it, I had drained most of my savings and even dipped into the small inheritance my grandmother left me. But it felt right. Like I was doing something noble. Like I was building a life with someone who would finally understand what real love looked like, at least. That's what I told myself. For a while, it felt like I did the right thing. Natalie lit up differently. She smiled more, slept better. We started planning our wedding. She said she wanted something small, maybe a garden ceremony. I offered to pay for most of it. She said she'd handle the photographer. Something symbolic, she called it. I laughed. I wanted to believe we were finally moving forward. But money changes people. Or maybe it just reveals who they were all along. After her debt was cleared, she started spending more freely. Clothes, weekend trips with her girlfriends, skincare subscriptions. A new phone, things she used to avoid, she now embraced without a second thought. I tried not to judge. I told myself she'd earned some peace. Still, the change was hard to ignore. She got into the habit of coming home later than usual. Her explanations were always smooth. Emily's going through a breakup, or work ran late. Sorry, babe. And yet, something about the way she said it made my chest tighten. She stopped asking me to go grocery shopping with her, even though it was our weekend ritual. She started putting her phone face down during dinner. I'd catch her smiling at texts that she claimed were from her group chat. I didn't want to be paranoid. I've just sacrificed thousands of dollars and over a year of my life for this woman. I wanted to believe in her, but the cracks started spreading, little moments that didn't add up. One night, she came home with her hair wet and said she went straight from work to the gym. But I touched her car hood cold, like it hadn't moved in hours. That was the first time I really let myself wonder, who was I actually saving? Because I was starting to think the man being used was me. It was 2:14 a.m. when her phone buzzed for the 3rd time. Natalie was in the shower. And I was half asleep when the vibration echoed on the nightstand. I told myself to ignore it, but the screen lit up again. Same name, same little heart emoji at the end. Jake. I froze. My chest went tight, like the air itself had turned into concrete. That was the name of her ex, the one who left her buried in debt. I stared at the phone until the light faded. My thoughts were loud enough to drown out the water running in the bathroom. I didn't open the messages. I didn't need to. The fact that he was texting her at 2 a.m. told me everything I didn't want to know. When she came out, towel wrapped around her hair, I asked quietly, "Why is Jake texting you?" Her whole body stiffened. Then she snapped, "Why are you looking at my phone?" It wasn't just anger. It was deflection. I tried to stay calm. "Because it's 2 a.m., Nat? I thought he was part of the past you were running from." She glared at me like I had just broken some sacred rule. "You don't trust me? After everything I've told you?" And before I could even answer, she grabbed her keys and stormed out. I stood in that silence for what felt like hours, the faint scent of her shampoo lingering, the sound of the door still echoing in my chest. When she came back at dawn, she said she just needed air. No apology, no explanation. I wanted to ask if she'd gone to see him, but I already knew the truth. You can feel it when someone's heart isn't in the room anymore, and hers hadn't been for a while. She came home with puffy eyes and a shaky voice, dropped her keys on the counter, and immediately started crying loud. Messy, dramatic sobs that echoed off the kitchen walls. "I messed up," she whispered. "I didn't cheat, I swear. But I needed closure." Closure. That word felt like a slap. She said Jake reached out a few weeks ago, claimed he was in a better place and just wanted to make peace. She told me they'd only met once for coffee, that he apologized for how he left her. She said she didn't tell me because she didn't want to ruin everything we built. Then she started apologizing over and over again, saying she loved me, that I was the only man who ever truly saw her. She dropped to her knees, held my hands, and begged me to forgive her for lying. And for a split second, I actually believed her. Or maybe I just wanted to. I helped her up, held her while she cried, told her we'd work through it, but that things had to change. No more secrets. No more late-night texts. No more Jake. She nodded into my chest and said, "I promise." But that night, when she finally fell asleep, I couldn't close my eyes because something inside me had already shifted. I started noticing all the things I used to ignore. The way she always kept her phone on silent. How she started using work as a reason to be gone on weekends. Even her apologies felt rehearsed. It's like she was reciting lines she'd practiced in front of a mirror. Still, I stayed, not because I trusted her, but because I needed to know the truth. And if she wasn't going to give it to me, I'd find it myself. I felt like a traitor sneaking around behind her back. But the irony wasn't lost on was tracking a woman I trusted with my heart. Because trusting her nearly destroyed me, I installed a location-sharing app on her phone. Told her it was for safety, since she was driving late so often. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, "You're too sweet." That same night, she said she was going to dinner with her old coworker, Emma, at 7:06 p.m. Her location pinged. Not downtown. Not near any restaurant. But a residential complex on the other side of town. I zoomed in. Unit 302. I felt sick. My palms were sweating, and I couldn't sit still. I wanted to drive over, bang on the door, scream until I got the truth. But instead, I just sat there watching her stay in the same place for 2 hours. When she came home around 10 p.m., she smelled like perfume and cheap red wine. I asked, "How's Emma?" She blinked. "Good. We went to that tapas place near Fifth. It was cute." I smiled. Lied back to her the way she'd been lying to me. Sounds nice. Later that week, the same address came up again. Different excuse. This time, it was a book club with coworkers. That's when I knew. I didn't need screenshots or confrontation. The facts were already screaming at me, but I wanted more. I needed to catch her in a lie she couldn't explain away, so I started saving receipts, taking photos of her location, printing out screenshots like a detective in some Netflix docuseries, And every time she kissed me goodnight, told me she loved me, or said how lucky she was to have me, all I could think was, she has no idea I'm about to burn it all to the ground. The truth didn't slap me in the face. It whispered. I was organizing some files on my iPad, something I hadn't touched in months, when I noticed her Apple ID was still logged in. Same iCloud, same sync, same folder labeled important. Curiosity got the better of me. I clicked, and there it was, photos, voice memos, screenshots of her and Jake together. Not from months ago like she claimed, but from last week. A blurry mirror selfie of them in what I assumed was his apartment. Her in one of his old hoodies. Him holding her waist like he never let her go. I played one of the voice notes. Her voice giggling. He's such an idiot, Jake. He really thinks I'm still planning that wedding. I can't believe it. Another one. His voice this time. I told you he'd be too nice to catch on. Just keep milking it, babe. Milking it. I dropped the iPad. My hands were shaking so hard, I almost cracked the screen trying to pick it up again. They weren't just reconnecting. They never stopped. I wasn't the rebound. I was the wallet. The rehab center. The safe landing zone until her toxic carousel came back around. And the worst part? She knew I'd forgive her. She counted on it. That night, stared at her across the dinner table while she talked about caterers and centerpieces. She smiled at me like nothing had changed. Like she wasn't sleeping with the man who once left her penniless, only to let me clean up the wreckage so he could come back and enjoy the view. I smiled back because now I had what I needed. The game wasn't over. It was just getting interesting. Natalie thought she held all the power. Emotionally. Maybe financially. Not anymore. Because the one thing she never bothered to ask about, the one detail she always assumed was the house. She always referred to it as ours. Told her friends we bought it together. Even picked out new furniture like she co-signed the mortgage. But the truth? I bought it 3 years before we even met. My name, my equity, my rules, and now I was going to use that leverage the same way she used me. I met with a lawyer the next morning. Laid everything out, texts, photos, call logs, even the synced iCloud folder. He didn't even flinch. Said I had more than enough to protect myself. Said the house was safe, that as long as we weren't legally married. She had no rights. I started moving quietly. Took her name off the emergency contact list at work. Closed the joint savings account she barely contributed to. Switched all utilities under my name and password protected everything from Wi-Fi to Netflix. I opened a new bank account. Changed the locks on the garage and basement. She didn't notice. She was too busy planning our honeymoon. She'd leave Pinterest boards open on our shared laptop with captions like, Santorini with my soulmate. Meanwhile, I was drafting a lease termination letter, printing receipts, and preparing an eviction notice just in case it came to that. She thought I was being cold lately. Said I wasn't present, and I wanted to laugh. Because I was never more present. I saw everything now. Every smile that meant manipulation. Every touch that meant distraction. Every I love you that really meant don't look too closely. She played me like a fool, but she forgot. Even the nicest guys have a limit, and she just ran past mine. My body gave out before my plan did. It started as chest tightness. A strange pressure, like someone had tied a belt around my lungs and kept pulling. I thought it was stress, maybe poor sleep. But then one night, I collapsed in the hallway, face pale, hands cold. Heart racing like it was trying to escape. Natalie found me slumped by the bathroom door. She screamed, genuinely panicked. For the first time in weeks, I saw something in her eyes that looked like horror, maybe fear that her golden goose was dying. She drove me to the ER herself. One hand on the wheel, the other gripping mine, like we were still in love. Whispering, "Don't leave me. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you." The irony wasn't lost on me. There, I was hooked up to heart monitors, oxygen mask tight against my face, while the woman who emotionally gutted me held my hand and cried. The doctors said it was a stress-induced cardiac episode. My blood pressure was through the roof. My cortisol levels, through the damn ceiling. They asked if I had anxiety or emotional trauma. I almost laughed. Trauma? Only if you count building a life with someone who turned out to be a parasite. I lay in that bed for hours. Natalie never left. She stroked my hair, whispered promises, said she'd cut Jake off, canceled the wedding, start over, and for a split second, I wanted to believe her. Because rock bottom does that to you. It makes you crave comfort, even if it's poisoned. But as soon as I was discharged, I knew what I had to do. Not just for revenge. Not just for justice. For survival. Because if I stayed one more month in that house, I wouldn't just lose everything I built, I might lose myself completely. The second I got home from the hospital, I started moving in silence. Natalie thought we were healing. She hovered more, cooked dinner, even lit candles like we were in some romance movie montage. But I didn't trust a single gesture. Every apology sounded like a lie rehearsed 1,000 times. She didn't know I had already met with the lawyer again. Didn't know I'd secured a formal notice that revoked her right to live in the house. She hadn't contributed a single cent. Legally? I didn't even owe her a goodbye, but I wanted it to be clean. Cold, so I waited until she went to work. I packed her things, every sweater, every framed photo, every pair of heels she wore to impress him. I boxed them with precision. No rage, no broken glass. Just detachment. Then I drove them to her mother's house. Left them on the porch with a note. This house isn't yours. You never were, either. I changed the locks that same afternoon. Blocked her on everything's texts, WhatsApp, even email. I deleted every shared playlist, erased our photo folders, and shut down the wedding website. The only thing left was the silence. She came back around. 6 p.m. I watched from the upstairs window as she tried her key. Didn't work. She knocked. Rang the bell. Started yelling. Opened the door. What the hell is this? I didn't answer. When she started kicking the door, I dialed the police and showed them the legal paperwork. She left before they even arrived. Screamed something about how I used her and owed her at least a conversation. But the truth? I'd already given her too many. The only thing I owed her now was absence. After she was gone, the house was quieter than I ever remembered. No footsteps on the stairs. No faint hum of her playlists. No scent of vanilla candles or expensive skincare clogging the sink, just me. And for the first time in months, I could actually breathe. I sat in the living room, surrounded by silence and paperwork screenshots. Legal letters, the evidence of a relationship I practically financed. $42,000. That's what I spent. Her debt, her dentist bills, her car repairs, her down payment for a joint future. Everyone told me I was stupid. Some friends even stopped talking to me when I paid off her credit cards. But I don't regret it. Not really, because now I know what I really paid for. I didn't just erase her debt. I bought clarity. I bought closure. I bought my exit. She tried to call from a new number last week. Left a voicemail crying, saying she was broken. That Jake ghosted her again, and she didn't know where else to turn. She said she missed me. The man who believed in her when no one else did. But she wasn't missing me. She missed the version of herself she could manipulate when I was around. I didn't call back. I blocked the number now. My days are simpler. I wake up early. I work out. I cook for myself. I started therapy not because I'm broken, but because I don't want to be. That man again. The one who thought love meant bleeding for someone who never once offered a bandage. She thought she played me, but all she really did was teach me how to never get played again. It's wild how fast someone can disappear once you stop giving them oxygen. I blocked Natalie on everything: phone, email, social, even that backup account she used for old high school friends. She tried slipping through with fake profiles, new names, mutual friends, but I saw it all coming. She even had the nerve to write me a handwritten letter. Left it in my mailbox, addressed like we were still engaged. I read the first line, "I never stopped loving you," then ripped it in half and tossed it in the trash. Because love doesn't look like lies and manipulation. Love doesn't bankrupt someone just so you can feel secure. I moved apartments a month later, left behind every item she touched. Got a new couch, new sheets, new locks. Hell, I even changed my grocery store just to stop running into memories. People don't talk enough about how grief can haunt places. How cutting someone out of your life doesn't end with a breakup, ends with a purge. But the deeper I cleaned, the lighter I felt. My friends came back slowly. The ones who stuck around told me I looked healthier. Like the fog finally lifted. My coworkers, who I thought never noticed, invited me out more. Said I was laughing again. And they were right. I wasn't just healing. I was becoming someone new. Someone stronger. Someone who didn't second-guess their own gut because they were afraid to be alone. The man Natalie used to manipulate is gone. The man who took his life back. He doesn't need to shout. He just lives better, quieter, sharper. And Natalie. She's just another blocked number floating out there in the void, wondering how she lost a man who would have given her everything. She didn't lose me. She gambled me away. She used to say I was too calm, that I didn't fight for love the way Jake did. She wanted chaos, mistook it for passion, confused drama with devotion, and I let her for too long. But now, looking back, I realize I wasn't too calm. I was just collected, measured, dangerous in ways she never anticipated. Because while she was bragging to her friends about playing two men at once, I was memorizing her tells, watching patterns, planning exits. And when I moved, it was surgical, she bragged. I buried her, not with violence, not with rage, with silence, with strategy, with closure that needed no explanation. I paid off her $42,000 debt. She paid me back with betrayal. So I took the one thing she thought was hers, the future she pretended to build with me. I didn't need revenge that ended in screams. I just needed her gone now. I walk through a home she used to poison free. The air is lighter. My sleep is deeper. My peace is louder than her absence ever will be. Some nights I replay it all in my head. Not because I miss her. I don't. But because I missed the version of me that believed love was enough. The man who thought saving someone meant they'd never leave. That man died somewhere between the hospital and the final voicemail, in his place. Someone who knows better. Someone who doesn't beg. Someone who doesn't flinch when the past knocks again. So if you're listening to this, and you're in love with a version of someone that only exists when they need something from you, run. Because I learned the hard way, you can pay someone's debt. You can give them your time, your savings, your soul. But when they've already sold themselves to chaos, the only thing left to save is yourself.